Homecoming, a special football game that becomes a small town event like no other. The themes, the queens, the pageantry, the big dance, and of course, the game. The Farmington Knights will play in their third homecoming game in a row after spoiling the celebration in Poplar Bluff 2 weeks ago and almost crushing Jackson's dreams last week. The Knights are putting together an offense with weapons on the ground and through the air. Now it's the Knights' turn to celebrate as they welcome in the Sikeston Bulldogs to a rainy but spirited Richardson Field. The Bulldogs have a lot of size, so the Knights will need to use their speed to win the battle up front in hurricane conditions. Chad Speaker is ready to call another Farmington Knights homecoming, along with Farmington football hero Jake Widener. Mike Reeves will battle the hurricane conditions from the sidelines, and Wyatt Colley and Jacob Towers are providing the camera and producing. So stay dry and let us take on the weather for you. And stick around for the Knuckleball Primetime Pregame Show. Get ready for Week 5 of the high school football season. Now on Parkland Sports Live.
Ready to roll up your sleeves and dive into a hands-on career? Mineral Area College is ready for you. Their Mac Tech industry and technology programs are all about getting to work and making things happen. Whether you thrive on fixing, building, or just plain problem solving, they've got a pathway for you. Welding, HVAC, auto tech, construction, and more. You'll gain the practical skills and real-world experience needed to thrive in today's job market. Take the first step to a fulfilling career in a Mac Tech program. Apply today at mineralarea.edu.
The Department of Mental Health for the state of Missouri is seeking an advanced practice nurse to fill a position on their East-Southeast Regional Forensics mobile team. This position includes daytime travel, a flexible work schedule with remote work options available, at a salary of $130,000 annually, and tremendous benefits. This opening will not last long. To apply for the advanced practice nurse position or any other with the Department of Mental Health, please call 573-218-6800 or go to dmh.mo.gov. The state of Missouri is an equal opportunity employer. We celebrate diversity and are committed to creating an inclusive environment for all employees.
Matt Stroud Excavating and Hauling has the equipment and know-how to get that job done right. They dig basements, ponds, lakes, roads, and clearings and haul in the rock. Check out Matt Stroud Excavating and Hauling's commercial work at Domino's in Farmington and Fredericktown and Leadbelt Motorsports. Call Matt Stroud Excavating and Hauling today at 701-3258. That's 701-3258.
Kim Hudson is a real estate broker owner in Farmington with Coldwell Banker Halsey. Kim has been selling homes since 2004. She's a Farmington High School graduate and very active in the community. Whether you're buying or selling, she's there to help you through every step of the process. Check out Kim's latest listings at kimhudsonhomes.com or call 760-9789. That's 760-9789. Or email Kim Hudson at kim@coldwellbankerhalsey.com.
Hey, it's Mark Toady here, and you know there's no better place to watch the big game than Spokes Pub and Grill in Farmington. Chris and Dina Spence invite you out to enjoy the great menu and the fun atmosphere that Spokes always provides. For me, I love the burgers. The catfish sandwich is amazing. The pork chops are awesome. They have huge salads, and you should always leave room for dessert when you go to Spokes. Check out their Facebook page to see when your favorite band is performing. And as always, for rolling good times, it's Spokes Pub and Grill right off Highway 67 in Farmington.
Hey, welcome back to the pregame show presented by Knuckleball Primetime here on Parkland Sports Live as we get you ready for the big football matchup between the Farmington Knights and the Sikeston Bulldogs. We got the head coach of the Farmington Knights here, Coach Eric Krupe. Coach, I know after the ball game last Friday in Jackson, you were very happy with the progress of your team and how well you played. And I mean, you know, a couple more breaks go your way and you're riding high after a big win over Jackson. How did that transition into practice this week and how's it been for you?
I think we've had a good week of practice. I think kids understand, it's homecoming week, you know, and so you want to be very successful during your homecoming. But we also understand that, while there's a lot of pomp and circumstance and activities for the student body, and we want them to enjoy homecoming, it's not quite right if you don't win the game on Friday night. And so I think they understand that and make sure that their focus is where it needs to be while they're enjoying all the homecoming festivities.
How was homecoming for you when you were in high school? Did you do anything special? Were you part of any kind of big deals? Were you the homecoming king?
No, that was a long time ago,
Yeah.
and that was in the city of Chicago, so it's a little bit different than here. You don't necessarily have a community parade or things like that, so it's pretty neat to be, part of this environment where, there's a very local, community-based feel to it, and it's more than just a high school. It's the people that are part of the community, and it's great to see everybody get fired up.
Now, I know that Fredericktown this year, and I believe last year too, tried something new where they're having their homecoming parade the Sunday before the football game. As a football coach, would that be appealing to you? Because I know coaches sometimes worry a little bit about, all the extra time that's spent on game day.
I'm just for whatever we decide to do, and then we roll with the punches, and again, you talk to your kids and you hope that they, keep the right things in their mind. They focus on what's important, and they're going to be ready to go at 7 o'clock.
Let's get back to the game now. I want to ask you about your offensive line play and what you've seen from where these guys were heading into that first ball game to where they are now.
Oh, they've taken some really big steps forward. We knew going into this season, we were going to go as far as our offensive line took us, at least on that side of the football, because we did graduate 3 starters, some really good starters for us. And so, we have some, when I say newcomers, not new to the program, but new to, experience on Friday nights. We had kids that, were going to step up and, really be under the spotlight for the first time, and I thought they've done a really good job. Our returners, Corey Crawford, Scott Fripp, have done an excellent job, and then, we've got our newcomers as well, Keaton Gibbs, Connor Farrell, Wyatt McDowell. They've all really improved throughout the course of the summer and then into the season. And, we've always said we've got multiple explosive athletes to get the ball in their hands, and so it's just a matter of do we allow them to be successful? And I think playing against a team like Jackson, that is a very strong, successful ball program that has good defense, to be able to do what we did offensively. You got to tip your cap to our offensive line for giving our guys those opportunities.
Let's switch to the other side of the ball. How's your defensive line progressed? Because probably a similar situation there too with a lot of newer players.
Yeah, from a defensive line standpoint, actually all 4 starters are brand new, so we don't have a single returning starter, and we're definitely undersized up front. We rely more on our feet and our ability to move, but I think we are taking steps forward on that side of the line of scrimmage as well, because again, same deal. We feel very comfortable with the people in the back end that we have. A lot of those same athletes, on the offense side of the ball, get reps on the defensive side of the ball as well, and we understand that if they're able to move freely, we can be very successful.
Rain in the forecast again. I believe we've only had one really true dry week so far this year. Does that affect your play calling much, or is that more or less you kind of throw the weather out the window as long as it's not super windy, and you just kind of go with what's working? How do you approach that? Does it make much of a difference? I
think it all depends. I think if your kids can handle the wet and handle the rain and they can run the offense as is, then I don't know that it does matter that much. But if that ball is just very slippery and both sides are having really trouble hanging on to the football, then yeah, it will. It will change how you call, because the big thing going into a game like this is we don't want to create turnovers. We don't want to self-destruct. We need to make sure that we're efficient, control the football, and let good things happen. And so we don't want to be able to give Sikeston opportunities because of sloppy ball handling.
Having studied up on the Bulldogs, what are you seeing that they do well?
So I think they're very young. Mm-hmm. They don't return a lot of starters from last season, and I think a big chunk of that roster are underclassmen. So they're young, they're still learning, but you can see, Coach May is doing a good job with the program, taking it over and making it his program. And so they've got some talent, athletically, both offensively and defensively. They're very big up front, so that's one thing that they are. While we rely on our feet and our quickness, they've got size up front, so we can't allow them to lean on us. But it's going to take time, but I think he's doing a good job with the program.
Great. Coach, best of luck to you tonight. Thanks so much for the visit.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
All right, that's Eric Krupe, head coach of the Farmington Knights. We'll have more coming up next on the Knuckleball Primetime Pregame Show right here on Parkland Sports Live.
Hey kids, let's go to the Catfish Kettle.
Yeah!
Everyone's favorite is the Catfish Kettle. It's been a landmark in Farmington for almost 40 years. Get the famous all-you-can-eat catfish, chicken, shrimp, and homemade sides served family style for lunch or dinner. Or enjoy tilapia, crab cakes, fish tacos, frog legs, or even gator tail. All ready for you for lunch or dinner at the Catfish Kettle. Located at Karsh in Maple Valley at the entrance to Farmington. See the full menu at catfishkettlerestaurant.com.
And Mike, you've got some rain, you've got some wind to deal with, and you'll have a field-level view of how the teams handled that tonight.
The coaches are always real good guys about telling us, the weather conditions do not play. You cannot worry about them. Bull. If it's this kind of weather, you worry about it. It makes a difference. Do you guys remember like 10 days ago, everybody was complaining that we were in a drought and we didn't have any rain and we needed rain? Nix that. We don't need any more rain. We're going to get it at least through the half tonight, though, guys. And I'll keep an eye on things, kind of let you know what these teams think about in terms of how much it's affecting their game plan. But you can't tell me it doesn't affect the game. I'm down here. I know what this feels like. The wind is as big an issue as the rain right now.
Certainly fortunate here in the Midwest, but Hurricane Helen has thrown some rain up our way. We've got a pair of 2-2 teams tonight. Farmington a setback against rival North County in week number 1. Then they string together a pair of wins against St. Clair and Poplar Bluff. And then Jake Whitener, the only team Farmington has outgained this season is the Jackson Indians, who hung 49 on them last week, but it was a good competitive contest.
Yeah, it was extremely back and forth, and you and I talked off air. If you're not down 28, I believe it's 28-7.
28-6, yeah.
28-6.
Yep.
I mean, if you're not down in that situation, they went back and forth toe-to-toe until late into the fourth quarter before Jackson finally, solidified the game. I mean, that says something about this Farmington program with where they are right now, their mentality. The biggest thing, Chad, is trying to stay healthy. We're into week 5. We are at the middle point of this season. But to know that is an offense that is outgaining the Jackson Indians, who for years that has been their mantra. We are going to outscore you. We are going to beat you on offense. Try to keep up.
The Knights had nearly 3 100-yard rushers last week. The quarterback, Brett Dry, was near 100 yards last week, 12 for 91. Cason McLean did top that 100-yard mark, had a very nice game with 130. And then Josh McCarthy, only 6 rushes for 97 yards. Now, that's part of what explains the story, right? They spread out the wealth. But it also tells us that they were able to have success on all 3 levels of their option. McLean up the middle, that first part of the option. Brett Dry with the quarterback keep on the second level of the option. And then we saw Josh McCarthy literally turn a corner. Not on his career, we already know he's a good player, but I'm talking about literally on the defense. Once he turned that corner, there was nobody that could keep up with him.
And that's the thing with Josh. Once he hits, he gets about that tackle to tight end mark on the offensive line. If he can just get that shoulder turn and find that sideline, there's very few guys around this area that can keep up with that sophomore speed that he's got. The main thing that you talked about is you got to find all 3 facets of the triple option. If you don't have that fullback that can hit the A-gap, B-gap, suck in those outside linebackers to give you the option to get to the second phase with Brett Dry, you never see that third phase, which tonight is going to be a huge indication of what these teams are going to or not going to be able to do. The weather's going to play a huge part in this. Ball security, what's that mesh point like? But, one of the biggest things is, do you trust that third facet? Do you trust being out, making that read key, and releasing that ball with the weather conditions? But you are correct. All three facets, almost having 3 100-yard rushers, it's kind of a staple for what your offensive line is able to do at the midpoint of the season.
In your mind, what's the answer to that question? You've been coaching for a lot of years. Do you let the defense dictate whether you get to the third level of the option, or does the weather actually play a factor and say, guys, let's throttle it back from that a little bit?
I think you play your game.
Yeah.
I really do. I think you start it with Case and McLean and see if they can even stop the inside first phase. If they can't stop the in phase, don't break it. If it's not broke, we're not trying to fix anything. You get Kaysen involved early. You can still get your wingbacks involved here. You don't have to go to the third phase. You can put your counters in where it's a more secure handoff. It's not the option pitch. But you play your game here until the weather is an indicator that you can't do it. Don't try to fix it.
For Sikeston, they rush at 178 yards a game, 133 through the air. 57% of their yards come on the ground. Farmington even higher, 72% of their yards come on the ground, 258 per game, and then just under 102 through the air. With not only the rain but also the wind, do you think those percentages go up in terms of leaning on the run?
I think you have to tonight until you know what your quarterback's going to be able to do with ball in hand. We were also talking off air that a few years ago the NFHS did a great job of making composite balls that were game ready and legal, which is going to make a huge part tonight because anyone who's played football years ago knows that those leather balls get heavy, they get slick, it's hard to snap, it's hard to hang on to. I really think until you can see whether your quarterback can get the exchange, both these teams being a pistol set or a shotgun set, there's going to be a lot of chance that ball is going to be slick. So I think you have to probably tend to go to your run game to start just to see if you're able to do this.
Mike Reeves down on the field, and Mike, we were talking with you before this ball game a few minutes ago, and you were saying, hey, you could do a lot of different things with the coin toss here. Farmington actually won the coin toss. They deferred. I think that's the right choice. And you were saying I wouldn't be against just taking the wind rather than taking a kick or a reception here.
I think the first points of the game are awfully important tonight. And I know you say that every day, every game. I mean, who doesn't want to score first, right? But if you can kind of dictate that, and then the rest of the game, you do what you want to do, and you're not forced into trying to do something that maybe you're not comfortable with. So I would want the football first, just personally. But I can understand both sides of it. I will tell you this right now, guys. The wind is by far the bigger factor than the rain. It's raining, don't get me wrong, but given what we've had all day long, this almost feels like the rain has dissipated completely. It's sideways rain, but it's not the downpour that we did have earlier. The field is slick. I heard some of the Sikeston players talk a minute ago, and they said, guys, it's slick. You got to be real careful with the footing. We'll keep an eye on that, too.
Jeff Lawson correcting me there. Sikeston gets the toss and defers. And I want to thank Jeff for providing us stats. He tracks the stats for Farmington. He's been nice enough to share them with us for our broadcast here on Parkland Sports Live. So Sikeston booting it away as Jake and I look at this field and broadcast to you. Sikeston pushing it from our right to our left, and Farmington will come out in the first offensive possession going from the left to the right. Farmington in the home blacks, they've got the golden helmets, white numbers and letters with the golden outline, and Sikeston's got the white shirts with the red letters. They've got the red pants and the black helmets. Brett Dry leads them out, and Brett is the second leading rusher in the SEMO North. He's run for 429 yards. That's 107 per game. Brett throws for 102 per ball game, so leads him in both of those categories. You've got McLean behind him, and then McCarthy's on the move as the motion man. They give us to McLean, and McLean slams his way up the middle. He's over to the left hash marks, puts the left shoulder down, and gets out to the 29-yard line. Jake, we saw this offensive line really kind of dominate Jackson in the second half, particularly last week, and they've come out by putting at least a thumping on the first play against these Bulldogs.
Yeah, I think that's what you have to do. You guys set the tempo early in a weather-defined game like this and just control the offensive line so you have a chance to move the ball.
Twins to the left side, one man off to the right, and you got McLean and Dry right there. This is a snap that goes in and out of the hands of the quarterback, Dry, and it is then taken back in for a touchdown, but call the whole thing to a halt, and Farmington just dodged a major bullet right there because that was going to be a defensive touchdown on the second play of the game.
Well, and unfortunately, Chad, they didn't have the chain set, So the Whitecap had the ball marked dead. The ball wasn't marked live yet. So since the chains weren't set, they didn't get the play off here.
And you've got to think right now, Jim May, the head coach of Sikeston, says, you got to be kidding me, guys.
You bet.
So we almost had our first casualty of the rain right there, and that thing was tailor-made, just on the run. And they go to McLean right here. He's going between the guards and slams his way forward for another 5-yard gain. Oh, my gosh, for Sikeston, you got to be thinking, you're kidding me on this homecoming night for Farmington. After losing to these Knights 8 times in a row, they're ready for a win in this series.
You bet. And Coach Mays, his first year at Sikeston, you had a chance on play 2 for the first turnover of the game to go in, be up 6 in the first few seconds here. That's one that you really wish you could go back and take a second glance at.
So 2 plays, and twice it goes to McLean. Dry pulls it this time. They try to take him by his shirt tail, and he's going to struggle forward for a 6-yard gain. Nice strength by Brett Dry. Remember, we talked with him last week on the barn, and he said, you know what, when I was first starting out in varsity, I was about 150, and he goes about 180 now, and that'll get you an extra couple yards.
He's done a great job in the weight room over his career. He's fought through injuries, but he's done a great job fighting his way back in the weight room to be where he is. The only thing I will say for that young man right now, with how slick that ball is, fighting for extra yards, cover it up with both hands.
You've got one wide to each side and a wing back over to the left side. Farmington wanted to run a little motion with Connor Rice, but the play's whistled dead as there was encroachment whistled against Sikeston. Why didn't they let the play continue there, Jay?
Well, depending on where he's lined up, if he's actually lined up in the neutral zone at the snap of the ball, it is technically a dead ball.
Gotcha.
If it's a fault or an encroachment as the ball is snapped, they'll throw the flag and let it continue, so you have the option to decline it.
Speaking of Knuckleball Prime, they are our pregame show sponsor. We thank them. Tell you more about them coming up, as well as a great interview that Jake did with a couple of Fredericktown Black Cats on Knuckleball Prime. They go with motion with Rice once again. McLean becomes the lead blocker now, and Rice gets off to the right side and gains 4 yards. Pretty good early indication by the front 5 of Farmington. We'll tell you about them in a minute.
Yeah, they're a group of boys that have put in. I mean, if you notice, we've kind of shifted here at the Farmington. Once you get into this triple option, they're not the biggest, 250, 260 pounds, but they're able to move. They're able to move sideline to sideline, which when you run triple option is a huge indication of what you are able to do.
Front 5 for Farmington average 217, and we'll tell you about them coming up. Here's McLean. He's got an alley to run through. He's to the 40. He might go to the 30, to the 20. Kaysen with one man to beat and gets all the way to the end zone. Kaysen McLean goes half 100, and the Farmington Knights score first. 10:09 remaining in the first frame. Knights 6, Sikeston zip.
2.5 minutes in.
Well, that was all Kaysen McLean. You sprinkle a little bit of rice with the dish, but McLean was the main meal right there.
And the one thing they did there was they set up their counter great on the play before, running Connor out. Exact same footwork by Kaysen McLean. Only difference on this one is he cut it back instead of going to be the lead block, and he saw a nice seam on the backside.
Ian Zoner's on for the extra point. So let's see how special teams work out with the snap and the hold. Snap is there, the hold is down, but Zoner didn't look like he caught all of the ball right there and went underneath the crossbar. 6-0 Knights on top, 10:09 remaining here in the first quarter of play. And we'll come back on the other side of this timeout right here on Parkland Sports Live.